destroyed Libyan helmet. Good morning. Hi, I'm Malcolm Nance. This is Black Man Spy. Welcome to day 31 of the U.S.-Iran war. We are doing this live, and usually we have Jacob Kaarsbo, our Danish intelligence officer, who is now skiing in the French Swiss Alps. Actually, he's skiing on the French-Italian side of the Alps. And as a ski mountaineer, I have always wanted to do the haute routes, the where you go from post to post up from around Mont Blanc. But no, I have to be here wearing my Afghan pahul and talking with Wajeeh the gay lion, Saudi geopolitical intelligence analyst and expert, all-round expert on Middle East governmental affairs, who set this challenge today by coming on with his brown pahul from Afghanistan. Ya Wajeeh, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me. Yours is quite rare though. Like there aren't too many camouflaged Afghani hats out there for people to get on their hands on. You have to be in a very specific group.
Well, I have to tell you something. There you can't read what's written on here. It says, it says Jalalabad, Durunta, Tora Bora, Afghanistan. So this I got in January of 1982, just after uh, the activities in Jalalabad ended, and I was there doing something for someone doing things. And while I was there, someone thought I was a jihadi because I saw his hat, and I said I didn't think about what I was saying. I spoke Arabic to him, and the guy took off his hat and and took my hat. So this is actually from a jihadi because the guy, here's what he said to me in Arabic. He goes, "Anta Saudi?" I said, I said the right thing. I lied. I'm a Sudani. So good enough for Jalalabad market. So that story, by the way, is in my new memoir that's coming out this year, Thinker, Sailor, Black Man, Spy. And I had to be very careful about Afghanistan because a lot of the places that I went to, people who assisted me are still alive in those exact spots, like where my safe house was and a whole bunch of other stuff. But, according to everybody else, that never happened and it never will happen if I'm going to tell the actual facts of that story. But I have four pahul. I have a brown one. I have like yours. I have a white one. This is the woodland camo super jihadi version, right? On a jihad.
Mhm.
So
This is more the middle class,
that's where you
basic
started the
middle
hat
class.
challenge with your. Yeah, I know. That's you just wanting to blend in. So while we're having this banter, for some strange reason, my number count is not showing how many people are on board. We generally start with a little light banter to let people come up till we get about 1,000. We've been pushing 2,000 viewers every morning, and it's Monday. And like yesterday was nuts. I'm sorry, go back and watch that. We watched movies. We saw taught you what a combat jump was, showed, a Band of Brothers. It was all sorts of crazy, but it was done to educate you. What we haven't seen is what is happening today, and there is an enormous amount of political craziness going on. And even more interesting is we have the Afghan speaker of the speaker of the Iranian House, actually spelling out that Donald Trump is making statements to game the market and advising people to whatever he says, think the opposite and you'll actually make money. But if you believe what he says, you'll lose money and he'll make money. And let me tell you, he started making statements like nobody's business today. But before we get to that, I'm going to ask Pam, who's taking your questions, if she could just text me how many people are active on the site right now, and we will go to that. Are you looking at the Al Jazeera live tracker,
Yes,
casualty live tracker? I don't think it's been updated. I think the last
it's
update was on the 27th.
that's right.
But go ahead and show it because I can give you a couple of updates of where people have increased casualties. If you could zoom that in. Um, if Afghanistan, or sorry, Iran, it hasn't been updated since last Friday, so we don't have the latest numbers from the International Committee of the Red Crescent or the Iranian Ministry of Health, which is 1,937 dead as of Friday, with 24,000 wounded. The increases are in Kuwait. One person was killed in an attack on a physical plant. No U.S. service members. We have received no increase in casualties out of Israel or the other Gulf states. So the numbers that we have been giving every day pretty much stand. Okay. Thank you, Wajeeh. That's it for the live tracker. Let's go to oil prices. They've been all over the place over the weekend. So what I do is to give you the most up-to-date oil prices, I go to oilprices.com, which is a tracker, right? Oil price tracker. There it is. That is in real time. Right now, West Texas Intermediary crude, which was selling at 88 the other day, boosted up to 93, and everybody thought, oh, Trump's going to make an announcement about peace and it will plunge back down. Remember, to actually produce oil, to make money, it actually has to be at a moderately sweet price. It cannot be too low. It cannot be too high. But if it's too high, they can't produce, right? They can't spend that money to get it out because you can't sell it. It becomes rare on the market. Believe it or not, it's the opposite. West Texas Intermediate crude right now, whoa, just this moment, switched from 101.6 down to 100.6. Brent North Sea crude, which had dropped to 98 on Friday, jumped up to $114.42. Murban crude, which is local intermediary out of the region, is down to 118. However, the spot market price for physical crude is still in the 140 to 150 for a physical barrel of oil, not contracted out into the future. So oil is still very high. More important, wow, more important, the oil market over the weekend did not behave the way Trump had been manipulating over the 3 previous weekends. And by Sunday, it was becoming clear nobody, nobody was believing what Trump had to say out of the White House. The market is now reflecting that because prices are not going down. WTI, West Texas Intermediary, should have gone down into the mid 80s like it did 2 weeks ago when he said the war is almost over. He always makes these pronouncements on a Friday, or we're going to have other events happen on Friday. Yes, day 31. Um, so that being said, Wajeeh, you can turn that around. We can't read it very well. Right now, oil is climbing. It's climbing. Now, it ain't going to get any better by the time I get down to the end of the significant activities. Actually, there's so many significant geopolitical activities that I'm going to actually leave that to the end in a section called Crazy Trump Shit. So he has made statements in the last hour alone that is going to dramatically increase the economic war that's going on with Iran and quite possibly dramatically escalate this war to a new level. Whoa, Malcolm, did the paratroopers drop? No, they did not. But his comments are becoming the only way to put him, be honest. I mean, as an intelligence professional, stark raving mad. They're bonkers. They're insane. And they are clearly not calculated to make people feel better. They're a sign of frustration. I don't want to burn it all up. So let's go to some of the systems that we lost. The United States, by the way, when the Saudi Air Base, Prince Sultan Air Base, was struck, turns out we did not lose KC 135 tankers. The aircraft that we lost was an E 3 Sentry airborne warning and control aircraft with a value of $300 million. We also lost or had severely damaged two EC 130 Compass Call aircraft. These aircraft are psychological warfare aircraft. They are powerful enough electronics in them to seize control of television stations, radio stations, and broadcast our own propaganda onto them. They apparently were very close to this aircraft and they were damaged. Also damaged were KC 135 tanker aircraft. We have hundreds of those, but we only have 25 uh, EC E3 Sentry aircraft. And even more amazing is we were going to upgrade to a new aircraft called the E7, which we could have done the same technology, far greater definition of seeing what's on the land and the air. It was revolutionary. The E3's been flying since the 1970s. Pete Hegseth canceled the program. So now we've just lost one, possibly two, because another may have been severely damaged out of 25, as much as 15% of our fleet, right? These aircraft are critical to managing the air, land, sea battle by coordinating flight controls, aircraft, missile strikes, all these things. Gone. So, hey, listen, somebody asked, I'm sorry, about last night's paid subscriber Substack. We did not do it last night. One, because by the time I reached 5 p.m., I was exhausted. I don't know if you guys know this. This war is exhausting. We will announce, just watch your email for the paid subscriber. We're waiting for a little more information, and today we may get it. And when I talk about troop deployments this morning, you'll understand why we're going to hold off on it. What I find amazing, though, Wajeeh, you're going to love this. Everybody's writing news articles about the Substacks that I've been writing for a month about ground war, about taking the nuclear post. And I had
Yeah.
Shasha and Josie, Wall Street. Here's who's written about it. The Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and the New York Times in the last 24 hours have all written articles about maybe we're going to invade with paratroopers at the nuclear site, just like Malcolm has been saying all this time. I'm telling you, bro, it's amazing.
we've
What do
been
you say?
you, you've been saying this for we've been talking about this for what, 2 weeks right now, 3 weeks. With you,
3 weeks
me
for
being
ground
with
war.
for ground war, and we've talked about a lot of different scenarios, and every scenario that we brought up ended up becoming part of national news investigation on what kind of
I'm
Trump.
glad.
Uh, it's
I'm glad I can steer them in the right direction. you know, But these are, there's a lot of people out there, and I know there are a lot of generals talking and admirals talking. I'm going to tell you, if you're in news media and you're watching me, I'm going to tell you why my opinion is a little more unique than others. I literally fought these battles, all right? Steamed into a minefield as a U.S. warship was sinking, had to go into that minefield and tow it out, right? Fought the Iranians, missile battles, surface to air missile duel with an aircraft, blew up an oil platform, steamed back and forth in the Strait of Hormuz, been chased by small boats. It's called lived experience, okay? And I've seen all these islands with my eyes, right? And fought around these Iranian islands. Very few people have lived combat experience in the Persian Gulf, and I'm just one of them. As an intelligence professional, I'm one of the people that know that. So, let's move on from there. Enough bragging about me. I'm awesome. I know it. Hey, Pamela or Wajeeh, can you see how many followers are on right now? I know
No,
I'm just trying to get us to 1,000.
it's I think
So,
it's a 1,200 or something like that.
wow. Okay. It should say it. Do you see it up in the corner? Because mine
Mm,
is not working. My little live counter is not working. So, right now,
1,400.
let's awesome. Because you guys, I'm glad everybody came early this morning to get this because what we're going to talk about here in the next 30 minutes is a little crazy. So, that being said, significant activities. We don't have any, by the way, we don't have any spectacular penetrations, the new category that Jacob Kaarsbo created for us, but we do have significant activities. Okay, we have been talking about this for at least 2 weeks, and now this is the part of the show where we get very serious. Wajeeh, the water wars have started.
Yes, it
First, we
has.
started with the kinetic military war. Then we went to the economic oil war. Now we are in the water war. And can you refresh everybody what the Iranians threatened they would do last week? You
They
remember?
literally said that once you start hitting any of our water resources or our main resources that fund our basic needs, whether it's electricity, gas, or water, we will do tit for tat with the Gulf GCC nations. And guess what they have did?
Mhm.
Yesterday. They were hit
Well,
yesterday. Iran was hit and they got back with Gulf nations and they hit them back.
Iran was hit by who? Who the
Mhm.
Israelis hit another Iranian oil field, and more significantly, they specifically targeted a water treatment plant outside of Tehran in order to poison or incapacitate their ability to have fresh water. So the Iranians yesterday decided, remember, I said the Iranians, I'm sorry to be the ones to tell you this. They've been very level headed about some of these things. Well, they don't just go and smash every oil field, water desal plant in the Persian Gulf. They go tit for tat. So the Israelis hit this plant near Tehran. The Iranians sent a drone into one of the 8 water desalinization plants in Kuwait City as they've been threatening, because Kuwait City has the country of Kuwait is 90% dependent on desalinated fresh water. 90%. So now they struck this facility. It was called the Doha West Water Desalinization Plant. They killed a Pakistani worker there, and that facility is offline. And they did it with just one drone, just one, just to let you know, we have capacity here. And if the Israelis keep doing this or Trump keeps doing this, we have the capacity to make it suffer for everyone to suffer in this war. Well, that's why at the top of my significant activities, despite all the crazy stuff Trump is saying, that is the number one thing that has happened today. We have now started the water wars. And I'm going to see if I can find for you the chart in the Persian Gulf of water resources, of desalinization plants. What do you think, Waja?
Yes. What is very dangerous about this water war is Gulf nations depend more than 90% on water sources, clean, drinkable water sources from these desalination plants. These desalination plants are considered to be the largest in the world. And they provide the whole region of the Arab Gulf with the necessary water. Well, what would happen if we take these out? There are no enough clean underground water. There are no rivers that go through there. Even if you dig the ground for well water, many times that water is very salty, or that has oil in it, or gases, or contaminated, and it's not even good for planting, nevertheless, for drinking. So what you would end up having, majority of the people that live in the Arabian Peninsula would have to leave because they don't have access to drinking water, and without that you can't do anything.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna get you some of the statistics here. I just gotta turn my dinger off here. Um, Kuwait is 90% dependent on desalinated water. Bahrain, 80%. Saudi Arabia, I'm still looking up that statistic, but I believe it's 60 or more percent. United Arab Emirates is 43%. No, I'm sorry. It's 57% dependent. But the city of Dubai is 90% dependent on desal water because water in the UAE comes from mountainous area in El Ain, right, which is the oasis area of the UAE, and off of the Omani, Arabian, the the Musandam Peninsula, which is mostly Omani. That's where they get natural fresh water from. But everything else, all the bottled water, which in the UAE is called El Ain water, is bottled off of an aquifer or it comes from a desal plant. The desal plant in Dubai is just below Jumeirah Beach residence. When you guys go past the power plants, for those of you who have been to United Arab Emirates, and you go past Ibn Battuta Mall on your left as you're going south towards Abu Dhabi, I know because I saw these places being built. When I first went to Abu Dhabi, the time I went to Abu Dhabi, not Abu Dhabi, Dubai, when I was a young sailor, only Dubai Creek and what is now the old Gold Soup. There was nothing else, a couple of hotels. It was really a tiny city. By the time that I went into Iraq, in 2003, 2004, everything south of Dubai Creek was desert, literally a desert. And you had to drive 20 minutes down to Jebel Ali, and you would see the one power plant with two smokestacks down there that was providing power up to Dubai. Then, by the time I moved there in 2006, 2007, all of the new modern era, the Burj Dubai, the hotel that looked like a sail had just been built and opened, and they were planning this project, Jumeirah Beach, with 75 skyscrapers. It's now going over 200 in Dubai. That was all done in the span of 15 years. Now the power plant down there at Jebel Ali has got it's like 10 times the size that it was, and then a they built a desalination plant there so that water wouldn't have to be piped from El Ain all the way down in Abu Dhabi province, all the way up to Dubai and empty their aquifer. Well, now the city of Dubai, if they hit that water plant, you're going to have to be going to the supermarket and the police are going to have to be coming out and handing you cases of Align water for you to drink and to use because all their water comes from seawater and the salt is taken out. It's desalinized through the process of steaming and condensation and turned into fresh water, which is how we make water in an atomic submarine when I was on a nuclear submarine, right? Boop, 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 make it hot, make it steam, cool it down, fresh water, easy to drink. We even did that with our urine. So that is how fresh water is made in the Middle East. Now, Iran, on the other hand, is only dependent on 3% of its fresh water. And that fresh water is desalinated water. That desalinated water is principally in one location, the desal plant on Kishem Island in the Strait of Hormuz. And that is the shark-shaped island. I'm going to show you a picture of it here. And for some bizarre, strange reason, thinking we were clever, the United States attacked and destroyed that desal plant almost 3 weeks ago now, in the first week of the war, thinking, oh yeah, the IRGC on that island, let's take their water supply away and they'll abandon the island. There are 53 villages on that island, right? So essentially, by the way, attacking water supplies is a war crime.
Yeah.
Okay, under the Geneva Convention. So by us attacking Kishem Islands, water supply, we committed a war crime. Same thing. This is why Iran keeps threatening this. I'm going to bring up the chart here of of the PG. I don't know why. I don't have my Google Earth ready. So, oh, maybe I do. So,
Did you mention the exact percentage each country in that region is dependent on a desalination plant?
no, I didn't. What did you say again? Which country?
I said, did you mention all each every country and what percentage they're dependent on desalination plants?
If you have a chart, go ahead and read it.
90% for Kuwait, 86%
God.
for Oman,
Oh,
75% for Israel, 70% for Saudi Arabia, 60% for Bahrain. I think that's actually an under that's it's more like 70-80% for Bahrain.
But
50%.
Bahrain down in the south of that country does, it's like a giant aquifer down there. There's a silted area between Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, and that's where they're getting fresh water from, I think.
Makes sense. And then 50% for Qatar, it says, and 45% for the UAE. But even then,
How
I
many
think
for Qatar?
that says 50%, but I think that's an understatement on,
That's an
go-
understatement. I think it's a lot higher in Qatar.
I think it's
Check it out.
definitely a lot higher.
Yeah. So, that's just the way these things are. I mean, these countries require water. They are building up. They are giant, now they're giant technology incubators. When the United Arab Emirates only has a half a million Emiratis, people who are from the tribes and the seven, principalities of the Emirates, only half a million people. They have 5 million workers, right? People who live there, work there, invest there, who are foreigners. And they all have to have water. Iran's water, no, I'm sorry, Iran, UAE's water capacity, no problem for the UAE's population, but it's not their population that they have to supply with water. Businesses, trade, visitors, big tourism industry until recently. So these are, the water wars are very important. And now, with that, I'm going to hold off on Donald Trump's statement that impacts the water wars until we get down to the crazy Trump shit category that we have. First, States and Israel report that they have struck 15,000 targets and they're running out of things to strike. They only have to strike 3,000 more targets. And I don't understand why they're presenting this like, well, this war could end because we're running out of things to attack. Well, many things are being restruck over and over again. Every tank, every car, every vehicle, that's a strike, depending on that. But they're bragging. And one thing I would like to remind you of, strike numbers mean nothing, right? War is not about numbers. That's how Vietnam was, right? We dropped this number of bombs 3 times the number of bombs dropped in all of World War II, right? That means nothing. War is just politics in another way. Your attacks have to impact the political situation that brings you war, continues war, or brings you peace. And I just don't understand how Pete Hegseth is out there like he's watching, some cartoon and is counting up the numbers and go, oh, I got 89 and you've got 1, therefore we win. It's not quantitative. It's qualitative and it's about the impact. Wajeeh, help me out
I
here.
think P. Hexeth is just playing Command and Conquer, and we're the ones in the game. I think that he's just taking a whole bunch of shots where, and he's and making a whole bunch of decisions without thinking, and we're the ones taking the heat. Fact checked the information I shared with you about the desalination. 90% for Bahrain, 99% for Qatar, and 80% for UAE. So that's more like it. Qatar is almost 100. It's 100% dependent on the desalination plants. So
That's
you
what I thought. I knew it. Hmm.
If you hit any of these, and like majority of these countries have, foreign workers. Majority of these countries, the citizens are actually a minority. Unless you go to Oman, the Omanis are a majority. But if you go to Saudi Arabia,
True.
half of Saudi Arabia is foreign workers. If you go to UAE, the citizens are the minority. If you go to Qatar, they have so many citizens that are coming working at Al Jazeera, working at their prestigious universities, that they're so dependent on foreign workers, and these foreign workers are already stuck and trying to figure out a way to leave. You have these desalination plants, you are causing a death sentence for everyone that is living in that Arabian Peninsula.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's go on to U.S. deployments. The USS Boxer, which is the second helicopter carrier we deployed from the United States a week ago, has only just reached Pearl Harbor today. So that means the USS Boxer at maximum speed, flank, don't stop anywhere else, get refueled and leave 3 weeks before it will enter the Indian Ocean, not arrive at the Persian Gulf, enter the Indian Ocean. But what I suspect is they're just going to use that as a backup force and that operations are going to be taking place in between here and there. Another deployment, the Wall Street Journal, we talked about this, the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and the New York Times have all confirmed one of the plans that they are talking about in the White House seriously is everything Malcolm said. Taking the Strait of Hormuz Islands, giving back the United Arab Emirates, Abu Musa Island, Greater Tum, Lesser Tum, making those U.S. bases, right? Seizing Karg Island, and then a ginormous special mission drop into Iran to seize nuclear material. Everyone is
And
reporting
guess
this as crazy as possible.
and guess
Yeah.
what? Israel says they're not willing to send their troops on the ground.
Yes, I'm glad you caught that. So the question was put to the Israelis. The United States is going to do a ground operation in order to protect Israel, which is what J.D. Vance said, and Pete Hegseth are saying that this is about, so that no one takes these nuclear materials, puts them in a bomb, drops them in Israel as a dirty bomb, radiological dispersal device, as I wrote about extensively in my textbook that's used all over government, the Terrorist Recognition Handbook. A radiological dispersal device, or a dirty bomb, just blows radiological material into the air and contaminates people and things. It doesn't actually kill you, right? And, unless it's really highly enriched uranium, of course, why would you waste that? You can make an atomic bomb with it. And then it would kill you slowly through the effects of being near radioactive material. It's really a denial weapon. You blow it up in a mountain pass and it's radiologically hot and you have to go around it. So I don't understand what they're talking about. None of this makes sense, which is par for the course for this administration. So, other issues that have happened, the USS Wasp, the USS Tripoli is now firmly entrenched off the eastern Strait of Hormuz, but it doesn't have enough manpower to seize those islands. The point is, though, we now have enough manpower in the region to go ahead and start operations. And if we see the United Arab Emirates start moving military forces, or I start reporting to you that their very small fleet of landing craft are starting to move out of Abu Dhabi, then we got issues. That means the United States is going to rely on the UAE and the U.S. Marines to do a combined assault on. Absolutely, they go for Abu Musa. That's their baby. I am the entire time I was there in the UAE, consulting with their government, consulting with their intelligence chief. They were really pissed about Abu Musa, more of all of them, because they had people living on it when the Shah of Iran took it. And the Arab fishing tribes there had to displace to Ras Al Khaimah. They were very unhappy about that. All you would hear is them complain. Same thing with Greater Tomb and Lesser Tomb Islands, just to give you guys an idea for those who are just watching maybe for the first time or just can't follow the geography. As we get here to the Strait of Hormuz, that's that narrow channel up there. Here we are. So I will point with a pointer. Somebody's already said that the cursor's too small, and they're absolutely right. It's too small. So my briefing pointer. This is my briefing pointer. Follow along. This is the Eastern Strait of Hormuz. This is the Indian Ocean. The Strait of Hormuz is this 21-mile arch that goes straight through there, right? All of this is Iran. This is the shark-shaped island I was telling you about. This is Kashem Island. This is Hengam Island, this little one here. That's Larak Island, the oil field. This gap between Kashem and Larak is the multi-pass toll booth. For those of you who have multi-pass and that the Iranians allow you to come up, you come up through here, they visually inspect you, and they go on. So Hormuz Island right there is that tiny little place. But over here to the left, in what we call the Western Strait of Hormuz patrol area, are three small islands close, halfway between Iran and the United Arab Emirates. This is Greater Tumb Island, Lesser Tumb Island. You see how it's spelled TUNB? I'll bring it close up. These are essentially IRGC bases. These are essentially IRGC bases. There's a tiny little village there. This is the IRGC boat docks. We have been bombing this. There's a tiny airstrip here. Wahaha. Guess what we didn't bomb this week? We did not bomb that airstrip like we did on Karg Island. Off to the side, a distance of about, I think it's about 10 kilometers, not even. I'm going to measure where Greater Tomb is to, yep, 12, 13 kilometers. I was close. I have sailed around these islands in combat, in war, when we were fighting the Iranians over here at the Battle of Siri Island, way out yonder. My ship had the patrol area of this area here as an air barrier patrol against fighter aircraft. Our missile battle took place right over here. And then we sailed over here with a helicopter, and unfortunately, at night, we lost our helicopter, and our two Marine pilots were killed flying because of an accident. But that's Greater Tomb and Lesser Tomb. That's my history with that place. Down here, towards the bottom, is Abu. Oh, I've got that chart just a little too high. There you go. Abu Musa Island is very close. You can see to Al Quwain, which is another one of the principalities of the United Arab Emirates, which is down here. Al Quwain. I'm sure I have a lighter pointer. I'll use my Hassan Chop letter opener. This is Al Quwain down here, and up here is Abu Musa Island, right? Abu Musa, Greater Tomb, Lesser Tomb Island controls the approaches to the Western Strait of Hormuz, which is all of this here, right? However, so does Iran, which is everything to the top of this map, right? All that's Iran. And those mountains are about 3,000 feet high, so they look down into the Persian Gulf from the top of those mountains. They have elevated, commanding terrain, right? So, that being said, this island here has IRGC. This base here, this town, Bandar Lenge, which is over here, IRGC. This little island here I got attacked from in 1988. It's called Farur Island. Farur Island is believed to be an underground IRGC. Whoop, can you see that? I'll move it over. There you go. Is an underground IRGC base with hidden tunnels, suicide boats, torpedo boats, also high-speed boats. I got chased by Iranian boghammer high-speed boats coming from there while we were having our just before our battle off of Siri Island. There's also oil platforms there, including Siri Island gas oil platform, which are visual observation bases and radar bases for the IRGC. But right now, they have their sights set on Abu Musa, Greater Tomb, and Lesser Tomb. Although we have been hearing kooky talk about them going up here and seizing Larak Island, that tiny little thing, which, if any of you notice, it's literally a channel island between the village of Kishem on Kishem Island and Larak. And it's I've maybe 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. I'm going one. Holy cow. 8 kilometers. I'm wrong. But that's also known as tiny, right? 5 miles. But what's its distance to the mainland where they have, guns and shit? Well, let's take a look at that because it is important. That is a city of 500,000 people. To Kishem Island, 25 kilometers, 18 miles. To Hormuz Island, 18 kilometers. That's 18 kilometers is about 8 miles, right? This is 25 kilometers. I mean, these guys, this is a tight area. You cannot go through here. Did I mention they have anti-ship missiles, sea mines that they can bring out here and drop out in the Persian Gulf anytime they want? If it looks like we're coming up the eastern channel of the Hormuz, which is where oil tankers have been going out of, this area here is called restrictive maneuvering, which means it's so shallow, ships have to be very careful about where they go. Now, Malcolm, I think it's time for them to have a history lesson. I think you're right. In 1805, we had a battle with the Bay of Tripoli in what is now known as Tripoli, Libya. And we've sent a squadron of ships down there led by the new frigate USS Philadelphia. And while we were there, we were going to land Marines, but the ship was in a restrictive maneuvering area, which means that the grounds were shallow and we did not know how restrictive it was. USS Philadelphia ran aground and the Tripoli Libyans captured it. And we had to do a raiding party to burn one of our own brand new 6 frigates that the new United States government had done because no one paid attention to restrictive maneuvering, right? Up here, you better have a pilot on your ship. That's a guy who's been going in and out of that harbor for years, or you will run aground. So maybe we shouldn't send ships up there. But the problem is this area here, the Strait of Hormuz, is most likely mined or it's going to be mined. And I mean mines, loads of them. Because as we saw the other day in our satellite imagery, they were bringing out small boats into that area. I know you guys want to see me in my sexy Finnish Arctic war clothes skiing, but I'm not going to show that to you. Okay, the other day we had
So
Iranian high-speed boats. Yes, sir.
regarding the Iranian anti-ship missile, I don't know if y'all know this, but they have some diesel submarine missile type thing that roam the sea until it finds the target it wants to hit, and then it hits it. So and it has about a 48-hour life, or not 2-day life of it driving in the sea,
Yep, that's
swimming in
called
the
a
sea.
USV. That's a UUV, an underwater unmanned vehicle. We saw one of them was used to attack not Bandar Abbas, Bushehr. Now, listen to me, Bushehr, Basra. There's too many B's in the Persian Gulf. To attack the Basra transshipment point. 2 ships, a Greek tanker and an American-owned tanker, were doing what we call an STS, a ship-to-ship transfer of oil. An underwater unmanned vehicle came there and blew up the American ship and secondarily destroyed the Greek tanker that was alongside of it. So they got a 2-for-1 deal in blowing these things up. Okay, here is the chart, the image I was going to show you. This is from the other day. We showed it once before. This is a picture of the cargo vessel Safine that was attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. You can see that's Musandam, Oman right there. This is where they were attacked. And all these other little dots around it, high-speed Iranian Revolutionary Guard boats. That was on March 8th. teeth. Do not tell me that the US Navy and Air Force are out there slaughtering Iranian boats. We would have heard about it. They're flying combat air patrols there with helicopters and A-10 Warthogs. And as far as we know, not one of them has been hit. And we know where they're operating, though. As a matter of fact, the place where we've seen new imagery, new satellite imagery, is right here in the channel between Kishem and Larak Island, because when your tanker comes out, you are met by IRGC boats with machine guns and rockets on them. And they checking you out to make sure, one, you are not Israelis pretending that you are IRGC or CIA paramilitary officers doing a cool raiding plan where you come off a ship that you hijacked halfway down the Persian Gulf. By the way, people, that is a real thing. That is a real thing, right? Disguised raiding party. So the IRGC are there. They check your multipass, right? To make sure that you have your IRGC multipass and that you're paid up. And then they let you through. As a matter of fact, here is the actual IRGC multipass that allows you to not be attacked. No mines, no missiles, no drones, right? So, and look, they take Trump coin. So, American Express and Visa, MasterCard too. So, this is how the Strait of Hormuz is being controlled now. And for the entirety, since 1979, the Strait of Hormuz has been a free flowing area. Even at times of war, ships went through. Even when they had mined parts of the Gulf, ships were still going through. We are at a point now where only Iran has created a toll booth right here, and that people are paying it and ships are going through. Okay, Malcolm, that was extensive. What are the Iranians doing? Well, funny you should mention it. They the Iranians sent multiple missiles that hit Tel Aviv yesterday, including cluster missiles. They had a ballistic missile was fired that hit in near Beersheba, right? In a place called Ne'yot Hovav, which is outside of there. It set fire to a chemical facility. Most importantly, though, Haifa, Israel, a town that I lived in, by the way. Haifa's a great town. Problem is, it's at the top of a mountain. You got to walk all the way from the seaport up to the mountain. It kicks your ass. And they didn't have Uber back then. So I did a lot of walking up and down the mountains of Haifa. Um, Haifa got hit. Its oil refinery was hit. That sounds familiar. Because right after the Israelis hit the refinery and oil fields outside of Tehran yesterday, the, the Iranians struck Israel. And trust me, it's going to hurt Israel a lot more than it's going to hurt Iran. Watch it.
The Houthis also hit Israel yesterday with two missiles.
Yes.
Uh,
Those are like
and
test missiles.
yeah, but they showed us a little bit of their new capability that not semi hypersonic missile that can maneuver and evade the
Mhm.
the THAAD air defense missile. And the reason the new missiles work very much is because the current anti-defense missiles that we have can need to have a predictable uh, way of hitting the missile. If the missile keeps moving, it becomes very hard for these predicting machines to find exactly where that missile is going. We talked
Mhm.
about yesterday also some of the old technology that Iran has that also is that works very well with some of the newer technology that the United States has, like the anti-air defense missiles that they have that only focuses on the heat
Heat.
of a plane,
Mhm.
because the F-35, F-16, F-15, they all have some of the hottest airplanes out there, and it making them very easy target for the Iranians to keep hitting over and over again. Do not assume that the United States Army or military is immune from being hit with old technology. Old technology could work just as new technology.
And don't forget, we've lost 12 Reaper drones, each about 90 million bucks. So they are shooting at things. They're just not getting at things because the altitude that they're flying at is pretty high. But if we start going to low altitude, let me tell you something. We're not going to be dropping parachutists from 30,000 feet. Okay. They got to come down at 5,000 feet. They got to come down very low. And I know people are going to go, oh, well, we've had the technology to see any human being. Trust me, okay? I've been to Afghanistan. I've been all over the Middle East. If you dig into rock, it will mask your heat signature. And here's the last thing, a gunship will be out there with its thermal imaging cameras looking all over, and you'll be like, yeah, we rule the earth. There's nobody there out there. And then suddenly you see one little guy pop up out of the ground. He's got a surface to air missile and he bops it at you. Then you see a second guy. Then you see a third guy, and it's a SAM bush, right? A surface to air missile ambush. Don't underestimate your opponent. And I got to tell you something, people, I see some racist shit out there on the internet about the Iranians. Not a fan of the government of the Iran, not a fan of the IRGC. I have fought them. I have killed them in combat. They have tried to kill me in combat, right? Iranian people, on average, are very intelligent, clever people. Intelligent. They are thinking, and they have wives, kids, family that they want to protect. And they see this while we're dropping bombs and destroying their water. They're not our friends now. All right.
Yeah.
And don't expect some massive popular uprising to come up because America good. People do not want to fight for Trump, and they absolutely don't want to fight for Netanyahu. Iranians are not going to fight for Israel, people. So get these fantasies out of your head. Be prepared for a deep, deep slog. Yes, Waj.
Iranians are not fleeing Iranian missiles. Iranians are fleeing American bombs and American missiles. Even if America is coming out there and they're like, we're destroying the leadership of the government that has been oppressed you. Meanwhile, you just bombed a school, killing 160 girls. We are killing and destroying the infrastructure that the Iranian government is using to oppress you. Well, what about the whole apartment building that you just collapsed? What about the water desalination? What about the hospital? What about there's so many things that has nothing to do with the Iranian government, and the Iranian people are the ones taking the hit. When a country is
Yeah.
on its knees, people from that country, even if they do not associate with the religious intolerance that this government has, they're gonna come together.
One of my favorite films is a film by James Caan was in called Gardens of Stone. And he is this grizzled Korean War, Vietnam War veteran who is sent back in the mid 60s to Washington, D.C. to take over the honor guard at Arlington Cemetery. And he knows that unit that does the honor guard rotates into wars. And he is trying to prepare them for actual combat in Vietnam while they are doing, 20 burials a day. And one of the kids who he's trying to mentor, who, spoiler alert, gets killed after going to Vietnam, says to him, these people can't beat us. They're firing bow and arrows at phantom jets. And he goes, how do you defeat an enemy? James Caan says, how do you defeat an enemy that's willing to fire bows and arrows at fighter jets? Right? They're willing to stand up and shoot bows and arrows. You have a culture problem that is going to end up, as you saw in the movie Apocalypse Now, my poor buddy, the Navy chief, an arrow through your throat, which is just as effective as a bullet when fired at the proper range. It is the underestimation of our opponents. We have people, if you're American, be honest with yourself. We're a racist society, right? We ain't particularly sensitive to culture. We don't particularly like hearing that we're not the best. And trust me, I've been around. We're okay, but we are definitely not the best. So, I mean, have any of you seen these French chateaus? Um, we have some ways to go to understand how our culture fits in. Next, all right. I'm going to wrap this up relatively early today. Now it's time for a new segment I call Crazy Trump Shit.
Mm.
Donald Trump today, and I don't know if in the last hour he said anything even crazier than what I'm going to read to you. Donald Trump gave an ultimatum to Iran today.
No.
I will bring it up so that those of you who indulge in this sort of madness can read it. Because don't believe my words, believe this old crazy guy's words. I'll read it in Trump style. The United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electrical generation plants, oil wells, and Karg Island, and possibly all desalinization plants. Bro, somebody tell them we already did that one, which we have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that the regime has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47 years reign of terror. Thank you for your attention to this, Madam President. Donald J. Trump.
Thank you for that. Thank you for this matter.
He has to, what the? Now, do you understand why we're going to have a segment every day called Crazy Trump Shit? Okay, so it's this was designed, I suppose, to calm the markets this morning and make it appear that we were in the process of cutting a deal and negotiating an end to the war. And as we say in the military, however, comma, however, comma, but we're ready to wipe you out and destroy all of your infrastructure and commit literal fucking war crimes, right? Because of what you guys did over the last 47 years, even more, even though what does he call it? A new and more reasonable regime is in serious discussions with them. Bitch, which one is it? Is there okay, all right. That's part one. That is what hit the markets this morning. And if you're wondering why West Texas Intermediary is at $101 and will likely go higher today, this is why. Because he is literally mad. He is I'm going to say this again. This is mental illness disguised as foreign policy. And that is the negotiator Trump is most likely talking to. And I shit you not, if there is a new Borat movie and it turns out that he actually called Trump and was negotiating with him for 2 weeks, I will, I will tattoo Borat on my body because that would be world level trolling. And two, it's just as feasible as Trump saying he's negotiating with the actual Iranian regime. So that's probably who he's talking to. Watch it. Help me.
I
Help me,
think
Jesus.
if anyone
Help me.
could get Trump, if anyone could get Trump so humiliated, it would be Borat. I mean, didn't he get Rudy Giuliani?
Yes. Oh
Um,
my God, to wank off and
yeah,
play with his nuts in the movie. You can
yeah.
almost
So
hear him. I am negotiator. I am negotiator for Iranian government. You, my friend Donald. I give you
yeah,
8 oil tankers. No, no, Donald, not enough. I give you 10 oil tankers. You, my friend. Halas, halas. I will not accept any other discussion about you taking these oil tankers worth $2 billion. Because look,
uh,
first 20 that come out, you have. Halas. You take.
oh,
All right.
you think
Everyone who's been
I'm,
to the Middle East has
I'll
met
give
me.
you,
Right?
I'll give you two versions as well. Don't worry, two extra versions.
Halas. Halas. But, my friend, because you're my friend, first business we do today, first one, halas. I give
That's
this
it.
to you. All right. But I won't accept money. I won't accept money. Wallah, la. You insult me, my friends. You won't accept money. Okay. For those
We'll
of you
give
who
you
are
eight
going like,
chips.
oh,
We'll
Malcolm,
give you
that's
eight chips of oil.
for those of you who say, oh, Malcolm, that's sort of racist. You shouldn't act like that. I literally was paid to be a Muslim for a good piece of my career and live in the Middle East and operate in places where white guys from Brigham Young couldn't. So I know how they speak. These are my friends, my neighbors when I lived there. And I could
Hmm.
show you photos of me all duded up. And you would just go, well, where are you in that photo? And I'm like, that guy next to all the other guys who look like me. So, halas, as they say. Let's move on. The next crazy thing he said, Donald Trump did an interview with the Financial Times today or last night and said he absolutely admits he wants to seize Iran's oil. That's what this is about. He wants to seize Iran's oil. He is going to take the oil. He does not understand why Iran is not behaving like Venezuela and just surrendering and giving him the oil. He's really confused about that. And he also hasn't figured out that the vice president of Venezuela just promoted the chief of the secret police in Venezuela. The guy who was kidnapping, torturing, and murdering everyone in Venezuela was the justice minister, the interior and justice minister, just promoted himself to be the commander of the Venezuelan armed forces. I don't think we'll be in control of Venezuela anytime soon. And I think that woman, Delcy Rodriguez, is going to wake up with her head off and a Donald Trump doll's head put in that place. So the Iranians aren't stupid. As I like to say, half of the stories from 1001 Arabian Nights, which is, if you really want to know how these guys think and act, that's the best book on the planet to study. A true in-depth medieval cultural study where nothing has changed, right? They even referenced the Hawala money changing system in there, and I sent $1 million of the Hawala system. That is ancient. So if you want to know about that, half those stories are Persian. These people are not stupid. It is the racist way we look at them, the way we don't respect their culture, the way we definitely don't respect their language. And then we look for some guy to come out in a suit who looks like Borat, who might likely be Borat, and negotiate with him. They look
You
like
know
Wajeeh without that hat.
the fact that Trump said what he just said makes me know that the Iranians already won because we have underestimated our enemy to begin with. And once you underestimate your enemy, that's like rule number one in chess. Once you underestimate your enemy, you have lost the game. I have
Yep.
written an extensive article about the mindset of the Shi'i jihadi military revolutionary stand that Iran has
Mm.
cultivated in its citizens. It's not Al Qaeda. These have government sources, these have government funding, these are legit people, but they're also jihadists. Like it's both at the same time. They're viewing the death for their nation as the death of dying next to the Al Hussein when Al Hussein was fighting, and so the story goes is Al Hussein was fighting oppressors, so a dictator that sent his army military to tell him to basically obey this oppressor dictator, and he said no, and he died fighting that oppressor. So the Iranians are viewing that the American oppressor, the same dictator that was oppressing Al Hussein, came right to their front door and said, "Come on, it's time for you to fight me with jihad." That's literally what the Americans have told the Iranians without saying it in their own like with. without saying the exact words that I just said. But that's what's happening.
Yep. Well, yeah, Hussein, by the way, was killed near Karbala, where the shrine of Imam Hussein is. I've been in that shrine. You want to talk about fabulous? It's pretty fabulous in there. And they let me in because I'm a Muslim and they want I was a Muslim, and they wanted me to understand Shia Islam, and it became a ginormous honor. I mean, they whipped out every imam in charge there, and they were like, "Convert this guy." And I was told the story of Imam Ali, or Khalif Ali, Hussein, who's his grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, and how he was killed by the Yazid in the battle, near Karbala. And Hussein did not have a lot of followers. He had 72 guys with him, and he was
Yeah.
beheaded, right? So now they honor this guy. Same thing with Hassan. Hassan was killed by poison, right? So these people, when you see them, and during the festival of Ashura, where they recreate the story of Hussein, Ali, and Hassan, they hit themselves systematically over and over again to feel that pain. They cut themselves in their head to bleed so they could feel the blood of the fight of Hassan and Hussein and Khalif Ali, right? They whipped themselves with, I have literally seen these chains. I could not get a set of these chains. I really went hard. I wanted it where they whip themselves with chains that have little razors in it, right? The way that we used, Catholics and Christians used to do to self flagellate, right? To hurt themselves. That's an honor to them. It's an honor. It's the same way that those Spanish guys who wear the Ku Klux Klan hats during,
That's right.
Semana Santa in Spain. I lived in Spain. They will carry on their shoulders, 50 of them, a 10-ton Virgin Mary statue in gold. And it's incredible, excruciating pain. So, religious fervor is something we should not ignore. So, when I tell people, they were like, "Oh, those Iranians will come out, and we're going to gun them down." I go, they have a force multiplier of at least two, right? They will, yeah, when you shoot somebody, they'll go down, but if you look at that little headband they wear, Ya Hussein is what it says. Oh Hussein. Or I am, a follower of Ali.
Yeah, Ali.
Do not underestimate that. That will make them walk in conditions and situations where they already live a hard life. Most of them, they do. Somebody said this to me yesterday, and it really insulted me. I said, "Hey, we lose to guys in flip flops." And some guy who's a Vietnam vet says they didn't have flip flops; they were all in boots. And it's like, no, you know, I don't think so. All right. The Ho Chi Minh sandal is the standard shoe in Vietnam. Same thing with these guys. They walk, some of them are cow herders, donkey herders, goat herders, sheep herders, and walking 20 miles in flip flops is no big deal for them. We don't. We can't even walk to the mall, bro. I got a Walmart a mile from, not even a mile, half a mile from me, and people drive there. They don't understand what walking is.
I don't know what you're talking about. Some of these people that live in the mountain purposely walk barefoot because
Yeah.
it's easier not to slip when you're walking on a mountain
Yeah.
barefoot than it is wearing a shoe or a boot. So, like, you have no idea what you're against. I was talking to someone that I don't. Here's the thing that you guys don't know about me. I grew up in a very, 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 very extremist household. My parents wanted me to
Voila.
be a mujahid. I met with some of the leadership of the mujahideen. My dad knows the leadership of the mujahideen. I it- it- I understand their mindset. I was talking to someone, and he was telling me about the Afghanistani USS war. Motherfucker had a grenade in his hand, threw it a little too late, exploded his hand, and he was still talking on the radio with his other hand with calmness.
Mhm. And that's,
Like
by the
this,
way, that's a characteristic they respect,
I
right?
mean, like
The
this,
the
yeah.
passivity of the prophet. It's really amazing. So, what we are trying to say on this show, and this is why I love Jacob. Jacob, is Middle East intelligence officer, Iraq, Afghanistan. We know who our opponents are. And we are trying to give you the facts on how they live, how their culture is. I respect them. I respect them greatly. If pushed into combat, I will definitely use everything at our advantage. But I am under no illusion that if we get down man to man, we're going to take casualties. It's not like the movies like Chuck Norris in Delta Force, where he kills 98 guys in that movie. My count was 89, but a YouTube Grok count was 98, right? Just one by after another. Nobody gets killed, just them. It's not like that, man. It is hot flying lead in every direction, right? So, for those people who want to comprehend why this is important, this is important. Understand culture, language, religion, history, geography, right? And those people, most people there live at 13,000 feet altitude. One last little story. I went to Bhutan, which was one of my favorite countries in the world. They do nothing in Bhutan for tourists. Nothing. Everything you see is how Bhutan is, and they limit the number of people coming into their country every year. Tourists. And a businessmen are considered tourists. I was going up this mountain to this place called the Tiger's Nest, and it was a very, very, very high monastery, way up there. And I used to mountain climbed, and I thought at that time that I was fit. I was running 5K a day, just doing it, having a grand old time. I'm struggling up this mountain, and this old lady comes zooming by me, clearly in her late 70s, early 80s, like freaking Mama Smurf, and just goes blazing by me like I wasn't even on the mountain, like I was a stone, right? Or if you guys have ever been to Germany, you see those old guys out on the hiking trail in their late 70s, they're all named Kurt, and they just boom through mountains. We have to put people in those mountains and they won't even be acclimatized, right? Never underestimate a people, especially a montagnard, right? A mountain person. Okay, I think we're ready to go to questions. What do you think, Wajeeh?
Yeah, let's do it. I don't want anyone to misunderstand. Yes, I grew up in what's one of the most extremist household, but because of that extremism, I'm one of the best anti-terrorism people that can talk to you about the mindset and the
Absolutely.
intelligence. So, don't take it that I'm extremist. No, 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 no. Let's go to the question.
All right. Starting with Derek, how bad a gauntlet is Iran setting up for the USA to run through to get ships through Greater Tomb and Lesser Tomb? Okay, let me recap this real quick. You got to go through a lot to get over to Greater Tomb and Lesser Tomb. You actually have to go through. Let me go to the map here. You have to get through the Strait of Hormuz, right? You have to get completely through Hormuz. Where's my map? Oh, I'm using the wrong cursor. Before you can get to Greater and Lesser Tomb, you've got to get through the Strait of Hormuz, right? Which you can see here. That's that. Greater Tomb, Lesser Tomb, they're way the hell over here. You got to go from the Indian Ocean down there to the eastern Strait of Hormuz here, where they can start firing missiles, rockets, or may even have secretly placed mines. And you got to go through here, beep, 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 beep. And they're all shooting at you, or sending out torpedo boats, or suicide boats, or mines, or drones, or ballistic missiles, or anti ship missiles. You got to run a gauntlet where it's like when you're in the Navy, they have this thing called shellback. When you go through shellback, you got to run a gauntlet, and everybody has these pieces of fire hose, and they are literally whipping your ass, right? While you are in underwear going through a garbage chute. That is what going through the SOH is. Everyone's coming to take a piece at you. And then maybe you get over here and you slow down, and everybody in the country of Iran. Let's zoom out. Oh, Malcolm, everything at the top of this map is Iran. What? Yes, all of this is Iran, and you're right
Hmm.
down here getting your asses handed to you. And they can shoot missiles, rockets, drones from anywhere in Iran. Surprise! And that's why I get these guys out there who are like, oh, this is going to be something. Let me tell you, Iwo Jima was necessary. Tarawa was necessary. Eniwetok, necessary. Kwajalein, by the way, my dad was on an amphibious transport ship for all of those. They were necessary to end the war, where you had to island hop and island hop and island hop, losing thousands of men to get to the big prize, Japan, to knock it down. None of this is necessary. Zip, zero, nada. None of it. It's for fun. And if they do a landing, it's because Pete Hegseth is thinking, you know what he's thinking? This will be cool. The Marines haven't done anything since landing in Da Nang in 1965, which was met on the beach by people selling food, right? This is completely unnecessary. No one should want to do a forced landing against an amphibious foe that is surrounding you with artillery rockets and missiles because it will look cool. You're doing it because we could do something. We could do it like Iwo Jima, like Lindsey Graham said. We lost 6,500 dead at Iwo Jima. We invaded it with 100,000. Did I mention it's smaller than Kashem Island? Dumbasses. All right, next question. Next question. Da, da, da. Is Israel saying they won't join means they already have troops in Iran? No. Israel's got
No.
nothing in Iran except Mossad, right? If they got troops there, they number in the tens, right? That they can get in and out. And they're all probably Iranian origin, Sephardic Jews
Yes.
who are from Iran, who speak
Exactly.
Iranian fluently and have probably been living there. Watch the TV show Tehran if you want to get an idea of what the Mossad ops are like.
Yeah, it's
Okay, but
Iran. Iran. It's very easy to tell if you're a foreigner or not. So if you want intelligent operatives, they have to be Iranian. Otherwise, you're really easy to spot. I mean, you're a black man. You go to Iran, they're gonna be like, they're gonna point you out like this guy is not even from here.
yeah, you're not like, it's not like you're going to say, no, I'm from the embassy of Nigeria. They're going to go, where are you from? No, I mean, there are Africans there. There are Africans in Iran, but they all speak Persian. They don't look like Americans. They don't act like Americans. And that's our problem is, you know? So, somebody asked the question, how much do desalinization plants cost? Well, that really depends. They are really technologically heavy. They're very expensive, but they provide fresh water when they're done. The average plant, like the one in Israel, is the same size as the one south of Dubai, right? The Sorek plant in Israel, which I've seen, right, is just as big as the one in Dubai. The one in Israel is 1.5 billion. The one in Dubai is probably 3 billion because it's Emirati money, right? And it takes years to build these things. Now, the
Hmm.
desal plant that was on Kishem Island that was damaged by the U.S. military, the Iranians say they got it back online because they apparently just hit the generators, right? And you just get your generators, new generator in there, you can start it back up. The point is 53 villages rely on that water, and you're going to kill those people if you take their water away. Whereas in the Gulf states, there you go. Somebody says, I heard Israel, that's Kendall Ivy says, I have heard that Israel has 2 power plants. Do you expect Iran to destroy them? They have struck near them already, okay? Near them. They're sending messages. Somebody says, Mark Schroeder says Trump is eyeing Greenland to get water into tankers to send to the Middle East and a new plastic bottling facility there too. That's kooky talk. I just came back from 3 weeks in Greenland. Because you guys know I love Greenland and I don't think the United States should be playing up there. So also elk are delicious. So that is not going to happen. Somebody, oh yeah, Derek. Derek said one of the most important things today. Just remember, no water, no coffee. Oh, knives out now, right? If you can't have your Shah or Gawa, things are gonna get bad,
Mm-mm.
really bad. Mm. I alone may invade the place to get that back. Okay, somebody says, is it true Iran is now threatening our universities as Dawn Petty?
The
Yes,
cheapest desal. So can we go to the cheapest desalination plant in the GCC is $400 million. The cheapest.
that's probably a tiny one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tiny one for
The regular ones are $1 billion to $3 billion.
easy. And they take years to complete. If they're utterly destroyed, you're talking about clearing the concrete and starting all over again. And I have a question. I have a question. I have a question. How are you going to get the materials in if the Strait of Hormuz is closed? Oh, here's that part. Yeah, okay. Got to think about these things. Apparently, the White House doesn't. Yes, Iran is threatening the universities. That's because the Israelis and the Americans jointly bombed an engineering university with the intent to kill the engineering school staff and the students who would be working on ballistic missiles in the future. So they threatened to attack universities that were supporting the United States in Israel, in Lebanon. I think they're talking about AUB, right? American University of Beirut. I've toured its lovely campus before it got wasted during the Civil War. It took a lot of hits, but that school is still going, American University of Beirut. Also, there's in Abu Dhabi. My late wife built Saadiyat Island. And the first thing that was built on Saadiyat Island was the St. Regis Resort. They're not stupid. The second thing that was built was New York University and its massive campus in Abu Dhabi. So that is a target. In Dubai, I think they have American University of Dubai there, but Abu Dhabi has more campuses. So that's that. What do you think? Let me see. Where could the US possibly, where could the US possibly, this is an excellent question. Excellent question. Someone's thinking. Where could the US possibly land transport planes to carry heavy equipment if we invade Iran's nuclear stockpiles and start digging into those mountains? I am 100% certain that Defense Intelligence Agency has done an imagery scrub of everything within 50 miles of whatever our objective is. This is what we do, right? And in that scrub, they have identified using AI, image matching, every dump truck, every backhoe, every loader, and every excavator on that site and in that immediate area. Because let me tell you something, we don't have aircraft that can carry that. They are heavy. The things that we need up there are intensely heavy. Did I mention we may have to be fighting our way in and out around these places? So what you do is you identify the excavators by sight. You get human intelligence, the Israelis, the CIA, somebody to go down, drive around and look for those excavators and talk about renting them. And then you figure out what batteries they need and what oil filters they need, and you bring a restart package kit. By the way, Malcolm, how do you know all this? Because we did it before in other operations. We have secret operations where we use local equipment or even enemy equipment, right? BMP armored personnel carrier. I'm looking at you, Libya and Chad. Things that places we went to and we took stuff with us. You got to turn it on. So prepackaged kits are brought in, and you could be damn sure John Deere is providing massive, or JCB and John Deere get this weird ass order. All right. I need 2 batteries. I need 5 filters and all the O-rings, and a new set of blank keys for a triple level excavator. And they'll be like, well, what model is it? And they'll be like, I don't know. Just get us one. So that's how we do. We will seize that shit and they will likely have it moved. This first parachute they see in the sky, they will order IRGC to order everything moved away. Move it away. They will deny it to us. Ba, 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 ba. Somebody, Alan D. Brewer says, are the Iranians launching more missiles per day than the last 7 days compared to the previous seven? I thought all their launch platforms were completely destroyed. Nope. Nope. Uh, they are not having a higher rate of fire. They are having a higher rate of impact. Whatever's going on, it's better. Whether it's warheads that maneuver, but they are getting more hits in. Let me see. Pete Callahan wants a link to the satellite analysis by MT Anderson. Yeah, he's a good guy to follow. I will show you his spot here shortly. Jude Culleton says, what's the estimate of the Israelis going Winchester, which is salty military talk for running out of interceptors? I don't think they're going to run out of interceptors anytime soon. It's just that what happens if a lot of interceptors are used and it turns out the Iranians actually have 2 or 3,000 more, right? Now you're going to have to let things through. You're going to have to calculate where those ballistic missiles are coming down, the probability of them not hitting an actual functioning target and letting it go instead of using an interceptor. Unhealthy. So let me see if I can bring up on X. If you want to follow MT Anderson, you go on Twitter or X as it's called now.
It's
This guy
still
does
Twitter.
really good satellite analysis. Yes. What's that?
I said it's still Twitter.
Still Twitter to me. Still a tweeting. All right. And that's where you can find the excellent work of MT Anderson. Tell him I sent you. And if that's what it takes. Oh, this is interesting. By the way, for those of you who are interested, yesterday I made that mention of the movie A Bridge Too Far. And I said, what would happen if that mechanized force that's coming on a roll-on, roll-off ship goes to Kuwait and decides to act as a ground force that would fight their way into Isfahan from Kuwait? And I did a Google Maps study of the only two roads that go through the mountains from Bandar Khomeini, which is lowlands, up through the mountains all the way to Isfahan to the Nuclear Power Research Center. It tells me if you're driving in a regular car and you're driving nonstop, maybe stopping for a coffee here and there, 9 hours. 9 hours by regular old car with no one shooting at you. In military talk, that's a week. And if they're shooting at you, it's even further because we don't go in pieces, we go in phases. We take village by village by village by village. We don't just drive in and start barnstorming those places. So that's what my study was a study of Isfahan, how far we could go. And there's only two ways in, right? Going from Bandar Khomeini up through here through Aiza. There's a pass that leads you in here. And then there's another pass way down here at Yasuj. That's it. Where do you think they're going to help? They're going to fight us, really fight us at the pass. And you're going to think, oh, but we have helicopters. We can fly over it. Where exactly are those helicopters at? And what happens if they shoot some down? Right? Do not think this crazy talk is viable. It's crazy talk. And people are seriously talking about that happening. So, one other thing. Let me go to, well, I show you my lovely face and we will finish. I have one more question to be answered. I know we went long again, but it's good that you get this information out. Why? No, that's not a good one. Sorry, guys. Some of these are not about Iran or the war, like Trump stealing money paid to the Swiss. I'll get to that to you, Chris, at some other time. We haven't had an Iranian missile attack in Tel Aviv. Dan Diamondberg, is in Tel Aviv. Dan, you should just be calling me. Actually, that's not true. I have on my mobile phone home command alert app. So I'm getting the same alerts. I put alerts for Haifa, Tel Aviv, and in the south. Not Ashdod. God, I'm having a senior moment. So anyway, I get those too. But the Iranians have hit a chemical plant in the south and the refinery in Haifa. That was done by, oh, that was by Hezbollah using rockets. Wow. Does that mean the Iranians are moving their targets to infrastructure versus military and populated areas? If they can allow the Houthis to hit Beersheba and the Hezbollah to hit Haifa refinery, you're doing their job for them. They're preserving missiles. There is a strategy going on here. Lots of people like to think we blew up all their missiles. They're just flailing. If this is flailing, I want to flail like this because this takes some planning and forethought. Wajeeh, whew, that's enough for one day. Anything you want to say on our
Hey,
way out?
I just got this in the mail, part of my personal collection. This was given to U.S. soldiers going into Saudi Arabia, a country that's considered a very close ally, knowing very well that U.S. soldiers a lot of times are not welcome, even in allied country, and they need a document like this saying that I am here with permission from the king to protect you and serve in your land. I don't know if even we've thought that far for these soldiers that we're sending in to Iran. I don't think that we have even made a card like this for this war. Um, the propaganda,
Oh, indeed.
go for it.
Okay. I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret here. Um, when I was a consultant, right, intelligence support activity, we were constantly asked because I had Arabic linguists, right, and I worked for a group called a lot of contracts for a group called SOFLO, Special Operations Foreign Language Office, and this is what they contract. And I could tell you the company that's probably got the contract to create Iranian speaky talkie cards. In fact, my pointy talkie cards, my foreign language usage cards were used by the SEALs in Afghanistan. And when the Rangers jumped into Kandahar, the first U.S. activity in Afghanistan, there is a video of a U.S. service member using one of my interrogation cards. That's there. So there are going to be those cards. They are being produced, and it's going to be in the worst Farsi you've ever seen in your life. They don't even go to Los Angeles, right, and go hire one of the million Iranians to do this stuff because you might call home and tell your friends, right? So that's interesting. Your little, I'm an American service member. I have screwed up. Please call this number card. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot. Thanks for showing us that. I have my Bahul on. Now I am old man Afghanistan. Hanar Yafandam. We will see you all tomorrow. Thank you for coming to this briefing. And I will notify you when we do the special U.S. jump into the Isfahan area, whatever the objective is, area Substack. For paid subscribers, that will be special for you. It will only come to your emails and I will notify you of that in advance. I don't want to do it too soon. I want you to have that information as we're seeing the final steps, and we're getting that all over the place. So thank you for coming. See you all tomorrow. As we say in Arabic, Fimallah, go
Yeah,
in
man,
God's peace. Bye bye.
have a good one. Bye bye.